So we're starting with الدرس الرابع, which is the fourth lesson. This construction الدرس الرابع, this type of construction, inshallah, we will see from the sixth, seventh, or eighth lesson, inshallah. So that's why I'm not going to explain too much what's going on here. But the topic for this lesson is something is very important. It is called حروف الجر. Uh, the حروف الجر, it is not that easy to translate in English. The closest translation we have is preposition. So these are the, like in English preposition, we have in, on, okay, to, for. These are all prepositions. They're not exactly the same thing because some words in English we may consider huruf, preposition, but in Arabic we may not say it. And it could be vice versa. Something that in Arabic we call huruful jar, in English we don't call it preposition. Okay, so but that's a good loose term for now. So the Musannif rahimahullah, he starts by giving us these four huruf. Okay, so these are the only prepositions? No, there are more. Okay, so the book is just focusing on these fours. So what do they mean? Fee, if some of you are participating in the chat, you can just quickly type, not a problem. So what do we say fee? What does fee mean? Basic term. Fee would be in. Okay, now fee. Another thing, before I even give you more meanings, I'll just mention something about the huruf, the particles. By the way, what does huruf mean here? Huruf here, it does not mean the letters. Remember, we said the harf has two meanings, letter or the particle. Here, it is the grammatical term, particle. In last lecture, I already explained what the particle is. So what is jar? If you take this meaning by itself, linguistic meaning, it's not going to make sense here. That's why we translate the huruful jar together, which is preposition. Jar by itself, it means like something, dragging or pulling something. So it's not going to make sense. Why they call it jar, it's another discussion. So just make sure that when we say huruf here, we're talking about the particles. So these are particles. So in every language, when we talk about these particles, other than nouns and the verbs, because noun, what does noun means? We know clearly. If we say a book, we know what a book is. If we say Muhammad, we know exactly who we are talking about, right? Like so with the verbs. If we say eating, we know what it means. It's not drinking, it's eating. If we say sleeping, we know what sleeping means. But the prepositions are a little bit tricky because their meaning may change based on the way we are using or with the verb or the noun we're using. Okay. Their whole purpose is to come with another noun to give a complete meaning. So, for example, if I say in English, by and large, you don't know what you're talking about. It could be, we use in sometimes to mean something inside. Sometimes we say we're standing in the line. I don't think we say standing on the line. Maybe we do. I don't know. But sometimes, the meanings, it's not directly as we think about with perspective of a place, something that is inside. In can mean different things. For example, to, it may mean something that you're going towards somewhere, or it can mean something else. So bottom line is that huruf, they don't give a complete meaning by themselves. Okay, they need another noun or the verb to make the meaning much, much more clearer. Okay, so this is one thing. So these meanings that we're giving you, these are, you can think about a standard, the general meaning you can think about, right? So keep that in mind. So what is ala? Ala would be on. Okay, ala is on. And min is from. Okay, min is from, and ila is to. So the author gave you the four most used. In fact, all the prepositions are used extensively. And if you are reading Quran, you know that these prepositions, these words comes like so many dozen times in each page. So this is something very, very common words. We have to get used to them. So let's see what author of this explanation he said. He said حروف الجار تجر الاسم الذي بعدها بالكسرة. So he's saying a lot of technical things here. First of all, he's saying tajurru. Here, again, we cannot take the linguistic meaning. I'll explain what tajurru means. But whatever it does, it's al-ism is doing to what? Al-ism. Here, ism doesn't mean name, it is the noun, it is the grammatical meaning. Alladhi ba'daha, which is after it. How does it do tajurru? Bil kasra. So this will be the first time that we see what we mean by the ending has to do with the grammar. Remember the last class we said that by default, if we have al-bait, we mentioned to you that by default, all the endings of the nouns, they take a dhamma. Al-baitu. And we also talked about that, the tanwin issue. If we don't have alif lam, then we say baitun. This is not our discussion today. We have already covered them. So look at the ending. Remember, the ending is always has to do with the grammar. Nahu. Okay? An-nahu. This is the grammar. This part before the ending, this is something has to do with sarf. What do we mean by sarf? We mean basically we're talking about what? The spelling. Okay? Sarf, you can think about just the spelling. The word itself. Okay? The word itself. So how do we spell? How do we pronounce that word? And if obviously, just like in English and any language, if you pronounce something a little bit differently, the meaning will change drastically. So this is what the morphology, the soft has to do with, but the ending is with the grammar. So we said in the beginning that the default is Dhamma, although this is also a loose term. In advanced grammar, they will explain differently, but honestly, default concept is very, very good in the beginning. So default, we said it needs to have a Dhamma. Only reason we change if we have any grammatical situation that we need to. And this is your first time. And he's saying that these huruful jar, they will make al-ism alladhi ba'daha, which is after it, bil kasra. So this is the first time we will have to change our haraka. Meaning, if you have any of these huruf particles, if the noun that comes after it, you have to put kasra. You cannot put dhamma anymore. Okay, so let's see what the author does. So for example, he says Muhammadun. This is default. There's nothing before it, right? So we stick with the default. Now we say fi al baiti. I just wrote last time we learned baitun al baitu. So this is the first time we put a kasra. Make sense? So what does it mean? Muhammad fil baiti. Muhammad is in the house. So now we're making different kind of sentence. Muhammad is in the house. Then we have Yasirun fil ghurfati. Okay, so Yasir is a name. Fi al ghurfatu. No, that was the word. If you remove fi from here, if you remove everything, you have to go back to your default, which is al ghurfatu. Okay, but as soon as you put preposition fi, and we put a kasra fil ghurfati. Al-qalamu ala al-maktabi. As you can see, this ala has impact on the next word, which is it will make it into a a kasra. Now this jar, this word, because it's coming a lot, huruful jar and tajurru. So this is in essence what it means in Arabic grammar. Whenever you think about jar, think about kasra. It is a state when the word becomes into a kasra state. Okay, if we use our loose term, so for example, if we say al-bait, al-baitu, this is our default term. If we say, if we keep using that term for now, default term, and the default is what Dhamma, so you can also call it Dhamma term. Inshallah, we'll learn proper uh, term for this in Arabic, al-marfu, we'll learn them later. Then al-baiti would be what? Huh? Al-bait would be what? Kasra state. Al-baiti would be a kasra state. Okay? Majurur. So think about jar means anything we talk about jar means the kasra state. We will discuss them much more in detail later. Now, so the pen, al-qalamu ala al-maktabi, which is the pen is on the table. Al-tifl, what does tifl means? Huh? Tiflu, anybody knows? A child. Naam, very good, child. Al-tiflu, the child, ala sarir. We had the word sarir before. So again, the kasra. So the child is on, here we say on the bed. Okay, I think we missed something. Aminatu fil matbahi. So Amina is in the kitchen. Matbakh is kitchen. Uh, I have a feeling that the author of this short explanation, he will probably not introduce any new words. So if you find any words here that you don't know, like it's a big chance that this word is introduced in the actual book. So you will be able to find its meaning from the vocabulary PDF that you have. Then we have الطالب على الكرسي. The student is on the chair. Okay. نعم كرسي is a chair. Now we have خرج المدرس من الفصل. Interesting. So here we also getting some word which is which are verbs. We're getting a little bit of taste of the verbs. The book will not talk about verbs in any significant way in the book one. Okay, it will introduce you some verbs. Just know them as a meaning for now. Okay, it may do a little bit of conjugation toward the end of this book, but by and large, it's not going to explain anything. Okay, so all the verbs, leave it for the book two. Okay, book two goes very detailed into the verbs. But kharaja, it is a verb. It is a past tense. Anybody knows what it means? Kharaja means, huh? Went out. It's not to go. So for example, dhahaba is went. Past tense. Okay, these are past tense. Past tense. We'll learn about past, present later. So خرج المدرس, the mudarris, the teacher, went out من الفصل. What does fasl mean? Fasl has a lot of different meanings. Here it means class. You can say classroom. Okay? Fasl has a lot of different meanings. Fasl can mean season, like fasl is صيف, summer. Fasl also has a meaning of like sections. You'll find the word fasl when you read Arabic book a lot. Whenever they want to divide a section, they put fasl. So fasl has a lot of different meaning. Now, makes sense? So خرج المدرس من الفصل. So in this lesson, just learn the verb as a new vocabulary. Don't think too much about the verb. Just think about the خرج means he went out. Who went out? المدرس. So the mudarris went out. Focus more on these prepositions and the role of the kasra. Fatimatu min al Hindi. The Fatima is from, what is Hindi? Al Hind is India, the country. Okay, Fatima is from India. So هذا القلم من محمد. So he's using a little bit term. These things we'll learn in chapter 7. What does هذا القلم means? How does it work? I'll give you the translation, but this meaning we will explain in detail in chapter 7. هذا القلم means this pen. Okay, this pen. This pen, what? Min Muhammadin is from Muhammad. So the pen is from Muhammad. Then we have ذهب خالد إلى المعهد. ذهب to go, it's the past tense. So Khalid went إلى to al-Mahad. Mahad is institution. Institution. So it's not like a college or university, it is the institution, the smaller than college. So you have the institution, then you have Kulliya, which is the college, and then you have Jamia, which is the university. So we have ذهب again. ذهب علي إلى المدير. So Ali went to what? What is mudir? Mudir again has a lot of different meanings based on context. If you say mudir in a company, it would mean supervisor or director or manager, yes. But when you say mudir in, for example, in school environment, you might think about principal, okay, or headmaster, principal. Then we have ذهب الطالب إلى المرحاض. What is مرحاض? مرحاض is a toilet. Okay, مرحاض is toilet. Now another word you might hear a lot is probably they will give you in the book, I'm not sure, is hammam. Hammam. So what is the difference between them? These days we don't have any difference because these days our bathroom, subhanallah, we have everything in our bathroom. So we have a toilet, you have a shower place, everything is in the bathroom. But before, they would use mirhad is where you relieve, and hammam is where you take bath. So if you want to be a little bit, technical with definition, you might want to say bathroom here. and this is toilet or washroom. But by and large, as we know, we use them interchangeably. So they would mean the same thing. Uh, Now we have another grammatical topic here, but so make sure you understand this thing, huruful jar. Okay, this is the main topic for this lesson. Prepositions. We learn four preposition: fi, ala, min, ila. And the main thing is that preposition will always come before the noun. Okay, this is something that we'll learn later, but right now, something that you don't have to know, but it's good to know. The preposition will always come before the noun, and the noun will always take kasra or the state of kasra. We'll talk about the state later. Right now, just think about it will be in the kasra. So the next thing that the author mentioned in this chapter is aina. Aina is a question. It says su'alun anil makan. Su'al is a question. We had this word, I think, before already. An, believe it or not, an is another preposition. So he did not mention here. Maybe we can add here. An here. Okay? Remember, we said this is not an exhaustive list. He did not put all of them. So maybe we can put an. So an means about. Sometimes an can mean uh, from also. But standard meaning, we can say about. So su'alun anil makan. Makan is what? Makan is place. So what is aina then? Where? Yes, very good. Where, not which. Where. It's about place. It's a question about place. Su'al anil makan. Question about place. So which means where. So now you can say aina Muhammadun. So where is Muhammad? Very simple. Once you know aina, you can just simply whatever you need to know, you just add that noun. Aina kitabun. If you say Aina kitabun, where is a book? Maybe it doesn't make sense. You might want to say Ainal kitabu. Where is the book that you're looking for? فهمتم? Then what is the answer? So answer, now we already know answer because we can use prepositions. We can say Muhammadun fil ghurfati. Muhammad is in the room. نعم. Now, أين فاطمة? Where is Fatima? Fatima to fil matbakh. They always make the women in the kitchen. Subhanallah, Allah musta'an. The women in these days they will get pretty upset. So matbakh is kitchen. I think I wrote it down. So you will notice something. I think the author will talk about this. Here we said Muhammadun. Okay, Khalidun. What is Khalid? Another name. But why do we say Fatima too? And if you are clever, you have a sharp eyes, you would see we also said something similar with Amina. Amina too. Although when we said Yasir, we said Yasirun. So there's something's going on, right? Inshallah, I think the author will mention that. Just keep that in, notice something here. The third topic that this chapter talks about, it is Mada. Mada. Remember last time we had the word Ma. Ma meant what? And we use the what ma is for something that is غير عاقل, non-intellect. We say ma هذا. We look at something object, we say ma هذا. We don't look at a human being, we say ma هذا. We say man هذا. So ma, it means what. So what is ماذا? Now, he said something here, it is very loose. It's not fully accurate. He said ماذا means ma هذا. It is one way of looking at it, but this is not fully accurate. Inshallah, I'll explain to you. He means for لغير عاقل, for non-intellect. So you don't look at human being and then you say ما هذا. What is this? You know? So let me see what he does. Then I'll say a little bit of what actually ماذا means. So let's stick with what his explanation for now. He's saying that ماذا means ما هذا, what we learned in the last chapter. So for example, if somebody asks ماذا على المكتب, ماذا على المكتب. So you're asking about what is ما هذا, what is on the desk. Okay, so ماذا here coming as a meaning of what. Then what would be your answer? القلم على المكتب. Okay, so this is correct. Meaning he's trying to say that you cannot say ماذا for human being. You cannot say ماذا على المكتب. So the answer is Muhammadun ala al-maktab. This is a mistake. Why? Because Muhammad is human being. We learned that mada is for a non-human being. Mada ala sarir. What is on the bed? As-sa'atu ala sarir. What is as-sa'a? Here's another word. Tons of meaning. Okay? Everything based on context. If you read Quran, as-sa'a means the day of judgment. I'll just write the day. Okay? And a sa, when you're giving a time, it could mean o'clock also. We'll learn them later. Okay? A sa, as-sabi'a, 7 o'clock. A sa, it also means watch, the one that you wear in your hand or on the wall. That's also a sa, watch. Yes, naam. Here, the sa meaning coming as a watch. But as-sa'a, another very popular or common usage is hour. Like you have a second, minute, and hour. So as-sa'a would be the hour. Okay, makes sense? Daqiqa would be minutes. So as you can see, subhanallah, don't think this is a bad thing. This one word has a lot of different meanings. Think about it positive ways. Memorizing one word, you memorize more than almost 3, 4 words. Make sense? So here it is based on context. We know it is talking about the watch. So the watch is on the bed. Now I will mention a little bit about mada. The correct meaning of mada is that mada will always come in verb. We use mada for verbs, and we use ma for nouns. Okay, ma for nouns. So for example, if you're asking about noun, you say ma. Okay, ma hada, for example. This, you want to know something, what is this? You say ma hada. But if you're asking about some actions, then you will say mada. For example, we'll learn what are you doing if you want to ask. You say mada taf'alu. We cannot say ma taf'alu. We say mada taf'alu. So we will use the mada for the verbs. But now you're looking in front of you, you see that there's no verb here. You say mada ala al-maktab. There's no verb. So this is a little bit more technical things. There is a hidden verb that we don't use. Just like is, in Arabic we have is, we never use it. The book is big, for example, or nice, whatever you want to say. The is we don't use. We say al-kitabu jayyid. There's no is. So likewise, this type of sentence, we don't use the verb. The verb is missing is mada yujad. What is found ala al-maktab, on the desk. So that yujad, that verb is missing. Even in English, we don't use that verb. Or we want to say what exists in that room, we say what's in the room. Okay, so this is a little bit technical, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand. This is, I just don't like, what he wrote here. It's fine now, but just keep that in your mind. Nothing super important right now. Just keep that in your mind. Now, so the next thing that the this chapter is talking about is al-alamu al-mu'annath la yunawwan. Here is the issue that we mentioned about the names. Al-alam. Al-alam here, it means proper noun or name. I don't know, name. So meaning the name of anything. So, for example, Muhammad, Khalid, any name. It doesn't have to be human being. It can also be the name of a place. Makkah is the name of a place. This is called alam. Now it says al-mu'annath. This is the term, inshallah, we'll get much more familiar with lesson later, which is feminine. We haven't talked about feminine yet. So feminine names, la yunawwan, yunawwan. What is yunawwan? Yunawwan, it something sounds familiar. Tanween, tanween. Okay, tanween. So that means it does not do tanween. Why? We will learn them much, much more in detail as we go along. As far as I know, the last chapter of the book 1 is completely dedicated for this topic. And as I think someone pointed out, it's called Mamnu' min as-sarf. Okay, it has another name, which is Ghair Munsarif. Mamnu' min as-sarf. So this is the topic we will learn later. But for now, that's all you have to know. That's all you have to know. That feminine proper names, they don't take tanween, regardless of any name. So Amina, now if you go back here, you understand what's going on. Fatima is the name of a female, so it will not, you will never be able to say Fatima Tun. It's not going to work. Okay. Likewise, Amina, okay, Amina is feminine name. It will not take tanween. For example, you say Zainab, Zainab, Zainabu. You don't say Zainabun. It will not take tanween. Make sense? So what you need to do right now about these words, because you will find a lot more. It's not only one. Trust me, if it was only one, then our life is easy. We're done with mamnu min asaf. There are at least 8 different categories of words that we cannot put tanween. So, but what you need to do as you find them, just learn the rule. Right now, only thing you have to know is that if we find any feminine name, proper name, it's not going to take tanween. We will define a little bit more about what we mean by the feminine name and so whatnot. Right now, that's good enough. He gives an example. We wouldn't say Aisha Tun because of feminine. We wouldn't say Amina Tun. We wouldn't say Maryamun. We say Maryamu. So all of these things will just take one dhamma. Makes sense? Now, another thing that he mentioned here, which is this concept that when sometimes you will see the sukun will take a haraka, because we learned min, the way we say from is min, but when you say min al baiti, we don't say min al baiti. I mean, if you stop word for word, then you can say min al bait, but then you're losing the fluency of your speaking. You just have to stop here. That doesn't make any sense. So if you want to pronounce with the fluency, then you have to put some haraka, because there's no way you can you can pronounce two sukuns at the same time. Okay. So the issue, what happens here, this is another very fundamental to the language, is that Arabic language does not accept two sukuns side by side. It's called iltiqa'i sakinain. So you have a sukun here, you have a sukun here, and you have a sukun here. Okay, so these two sukuns is not going to happen. So the first sukun will always get a haraka. By and large, most of the time, it will take a kasra. Here it's taking a fatha, because just saying mean and putting two kasra side by side is not super interesting. You say minil bait, it probably doesn't make sounds nice. So here we are saying minal bait, but by and large you'll see we put a kasra. So as you can see, we have min, then al, then you say min al. That's how we say it, min al bait. And what he's explaining here is that hurrikat noon, hurrika, that means the noon is given a haraka bil fatha, with a fatha, man'an, preventing li iltiqa'i sakinain. So what he's saying, the noon has been, because noon did not have haraka. Remember in last class I mentioned to you the sukun is not a haraka. Sukun means that you don't have a haraka. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that. So, but here he's saying that we have given the noon a haraka, which haraka al-fatha. So we've given the noon and haraka. Why? Because we want to prevent man'an. We want to prevent having two sukuns, iltiqa'i sakinain. We don't want to have two sukuns. In Arabic, we cannot have that. So just to prevent that from happening, we are putting a, a haraka. Make sense, guys? Any questions from here? So this is your chapter number 4. This is your what? Chapter number 4. So let me quickly go to the book. I don't know how often I can go to the book and review, because that also takes a lot of time. Now, it starts with ad-dars al-rabi, and then it starts giving you examples. It does not explain anything in the beginning. It will give you examples. The book is very nice, even though it's not telling you what's going on, but it will put things into a focus. So it says al baytu, then what happened? Fil bayti. So he's showing you that dhamma becomes a kasra. And we talked about everything, so we will not be going into them. Now, the book also mentioned few pronouns. Huwa is he, and here is she. So remember, the explanation is not, it's not independent by itself, meaning it's not enough by itself. You have to go back to the text. The explanation is that so that when you go to the text, text is a breeze because you know all the rules. You've seen the words, you've learned few vocabs, you know the rules. Now, when you read them, it just it's just matter of learning new vocabs, and that's all. There's nothing to it. So you have to read them line by line, no exception. So because they will give you more words, there will be more constructions. You have to know them. So aina we already talked about. Then we have these examples. I think these questions you should be able to answer from this text. So this is like a reading comprehension in a way. If somebody asks you, you read this one and someone asks you, aina al-kitab? Okay, where is the book? Then you see here, aina al-kitab, you have this question. Huwa ala al-maktab. Okay, so there is another thing I have to explain. I just said that huwa is he and here is she. So how's that working here for us with that explanation? We have Ain al-Kitab, where is the book? Do we say in English, he is on the desk? So we have a problem now, right? So the way it works is that in Arabic, we don't have a dedicated pronoun for it, like genderless it. We don't have it. So every single word, it's going to be either masculine or feminine. It will be either masculine or feminine. Okay, inshallah we'll talk about how do we define feminine when we go there. uh, by and large, something that if you are wondering how do we define masculine feminine in object, since we don't have it, we are forced to use one of these two pronouns, huwa or hiya. Okay, we have no other choice. There's no it, so we have to use huwa or hiya. So which one do we use? If the word is masculine, we will use huwa. And if word is feminine, we will use hiya. We're talking about it. If it's a female person, of course, we'll be using hiya. So how does a object is feminine? Okay, this is a question that we have to deal with. Inshallah, we'll deal a lot in coming lesson. But for now, the easiest thing to do is just look at the ending. If you have ta marbuta, okay, this ta marbuta, marbuta is means round, this round ta, then it is very safe for us to assume that the word is feminine. We're not talking, what is asa? We just mentioned asa means watch. Okay, so there's nothing femininity about watch, the watch being female, feminine or not, but it's just that the word has tamarbuta, so we have to consider from the grammatical perspective that it is a feminine word. And al-kitab, both of them are objects. It doesn't have tamarbuta, so we consider that this is a masculine. So when we understand this for now, then we know which pronoun should we use for it. We want to say Ain al-Kitab, where is the book? We want to say it is on the desk. So now we have only two options. Do we use hiya or huwa? Since there's no ta marbuta, we say huwa. Now here he's asking wa aina sa'a, where's the watch? Okay, we have to say it is on the bed. We don't have the word it, so we say hiya. Why do we say hiya? Because it has ta marbuta. Okay, so for now, that's all you need to know. Okay, so do them. All of these exercises is fairly simple. You should be able to, if the question's answer is not here in the from the reading comprehension, just make up something. Shouldn't be a problem. So for example, it says ماذا على المكتب, and this is a good exercise. By the way, it depends on what book you have. If you don't have this edition of the book, if you have other books, they may give you all the haraka, which is fine. That's not a problem. Okay, especially in the beginning stage, it's probably you might feel less frustrated or intimidated by if you have all the haraka. Maybe I should have used a version that had all the haraka, but this is also very good technique to master. Okay, it's something that you don't have to master in the beginning, but something you have to be considering about. So here we say ala, so of course we have to put a kasra. Okay, that's the main issue here. We say ماذا على المكتب, what's on the desk? Just make up something. Just think about what do you want to say. Do you want to say the pen is on the desk? You want to say book is on the desk? Okay, you want to say, walad, the boy is on the desk. You say al waladu. Then you say ala al maktab, ala al maktab. Okay, maktabi, and make sure you put your grammar thing that you're learning. And here you have اقرأ واكتب, with say مع ضبط أواخر الكلمات, by putting the harakat, the symbols at the end of the words. So something that you should be doing. Okay. And then, of course, here it's talking about the concept that I mentioned to you. The shart already mentioned. We have Muhammadun, Khalidun, Hamidun, Yasirun, Ammarun, Sa'idun, Aliyun, Abbasun, Tanwin, Tanwin, Tanwin. All of a sudden, we have no Tanwin. Aminatu, Zainabu, Fatimatu, Maryamu, Aishatu. We talked about them. Not an issue. Now, here, just put whether you have Tanwin or not. So it's the same thing. Now it introduced two more prepositions, mean and ila. We talked about them. Nothing important is going on. So you have dhahaba. See, if the book mentioned it, the author will mention. Okay, book mentioned the verbs. Kharaja means to go out in the past tense. So that means he went out, and dhahaba means he went. And continue with your exercises. Don't skip anything. Don't skip anything. This is a very good exercise. Just fill in, pick one of preposition and put the one that makes sense. And here's your new vocabs. And then finally at the end, he's telling you a little bit about the grammar, what you learned. Mean, it says fi, ala, min, ila. Min hurufil jar. He's not saying that these are all the huruful jar. He's saying min. It's mean among. These are the four among huruful jar. That means there are more. Make sense? Jade, any question? So now we'll start with Ad-Dars al-Khamis, the fifth lesson. So this is another complicated and important and very fundamental topic to Arabic language. Okay? The topic, he did not write the word, it is called Idafa. Okay? Idafa. Al-Idafa. What is Idafa? Idafa, you can think about, it has a two different usage, but right now just focus on possessive. Okay, possessive. It's about possession. So for example, give you an example from English. We say Muhammad's book or book of Muhammad. Okay, Allah's book or book of Allah. So this is a possession. Okay, so the book belongs to Allah. Khalid's house. Okay, so this is one of the uses of idafa. But idafa we use for other purpose also. We use idafa to construct a compound noun, but something that maybe we will talk about later. So this is very, very important. In fact, idafa, it is extremely fundamental to the language, and we use idafa way too extensively, more than the English language. Why? Because I told you we use idafa for other purpose as well. Now, it starts by saying al-mudaf wal-mudaf ilayhi. The explanation starts by introducing two words. What is al-mudaf, al-mudaf ilayhi? These words are honestly very difficult to translate in English and something that you have to memorize. In the beginning, I don't push students to memorize a lot of grammatical term, but this is one of the terms that it is probably perhaps best to memorize from the beginning. But if you know what it means, mudaf means something that is being added, something that has been added. Mudaf from idafa. Idafa means to add something. So mudaf is something that has been added, and mudaf ilayhi, we already learned ila means to, but ilayhi means toward it. So here it means something that has been added to. So something that is added and something that is added to. So let's look at English words. If we say, you know, Khalid's book. So which one is added? Hmm? What do you think? Which one do you think has been added? And which one is added to? We added the book, right? And where did we add it? We added to Khalid. So we made this book being added to Khalid, that means it belongs to Khalid. And this phrase, we can also say it another way. We say book of Khalid. So this is all we will be learning how to construct this type of construction, which is a very important, as you can see. Okay, so in English we have two ways of writing. Okay, we can change the order, but in Arabic we only have one way of writing, which is this one, and we'll talk about them. But what I wanted to tell you here, what does mudaf means? Mudaf means the thing that we're adding, and we'll focus only on the of construction. Okay, in when we talk about idafa, you can later change to apostrophe s, but when we explain the Arabic grammar, we will only stick with uh, the of construction, because it's very easy when we translate from English to Arabic or Arabic to English. So the word that we're adding, making it belong to something else, is called mudaf, and something where we're adding to is mudaf ilayhi. So in the of construction, the first one would be mudaf, naam, and the second word would be mudaf ilayhi. So let's see what he says. So he gives us two words. Kitabun. What is kitabun? A book. Naam. And with Muhammad. So now we want to make this joint. With these two things, we want to make this possessive case. We want to say what? We want to say the book of Muhammad. So how do we do this? We say Kitabu Muhammadin. So there are a lot of things we have to explain. Before we explain anything, main thing you have to see that we need to have the construction of. Why? I'll explain to you. Let's say we write this thing in English. We say book of Muhammad. Now, when we say Book of Muhammad, here, when we make this kind of construction, we're not talking about a Book of Muhammad. It is actually the Book of Muhammad. Okay, so we need this the here. So the Book of Muhammad. So I'm not focused on this one so much right now. Let's stick with the structure for now. So what we do is the first thing we say, how do you say book? We say kitab. And how do you say Muhammad? We say Muhammad. Naam. If we just join these two words side by side like this, we have a idafa construction. Okay, we have idafa construction. But look, we are not saying anything at the end yet. Remember, and is for the grammar. So even if you don't pronounce the end, as long as your construction are right, the Arab speakers, they will understand. Anybody who understand Arabic language, he will understand. You can simply say Kitab Muhammad. Every Arab speakers, they will understand what you mean. You're just skipping the grammar. When Arabs they speak, the most of the time they do that. Now, so this is fine, but we have to know what do we put. But what you need to know, the first thing is that we need the of construction. Once we have the of construction, we know which word to use first and which word to use second. Okay, so this is the first thing. And the first word, the kitab, it is mudaf, which I already explained to you, and Muhammad, it is called mudaf ilayhi. So this concept is extremely important. So we have baytun and hamidun. Baytun is one word, hamid is one word. We want to make a possessive case here. We want to say, let's say, that's what came to your mind first. If I told you to make a construction, positive construction, your mind, first thing came is Muhammad's house. Is there anything wrong with this? Nothing is wrong with this. Okay, but if you want to translate better, that you convert that into the of construction. So what would you say? The house, now you bring the house first, house of Hamid. Why you want to do this? Once you do this, the translation becomes easy. What is the first word? First word is house. So you say bait. What is the second word? Second word is Hamid. So you say Hamid, you're done. Bait, Hamid, you're done. This is a proper, absolutely proper idafa construction. Subhanallah, yeah. I'm keep on saying bite. It is actually bint, Allah mustan, and that happens a lot. So I would prefer that someone do correct me. So it is actually bint. I don't know why I'm keep on reading bite. So bint Hamed. So that means it would be daughter. Okay, so bint Hamed would be daughter. So we can do this one, no problem. We say daughter. What? Daughter of Hamed. So now that once you have this construction, the order is right, then it just matter of how do we say daughter. We say bint. Okay, bint. And how do you say Hamed? Hamed is a name, so we say Hamed. So In terms of your construction, it is fine. And what do we call the first word? First word we call mudaf, and the second word we call mudaf ilayhi. And these two terms, slowly, inshallah, you have to get used to them. And of course, this construction we hear so often, kitabun, and we have Allah. So we say kitab, Allah. So now, of course, we have to know what's going on with the ending. So we cannot ignore them. He will explain to you, or maybe I should explain to you first. What happens because we've been ignoring the ending? Remember, we said the ending has to do with the grammar. We've been ignoring the grammar. So let's talk about the grammar. When we had the word bint by itself, look, by itself, as you know, if somebody asks you, how do you say a daughter? You say bintun. Default is tanween of dhamma, right? So it should be bintun. But what we do is the first word of idafa will never take a tanween. Did not explain the way I would expect, so I'm going to explain this one first, and then inshallah we'll read what he has to say. So the first word of the idafa, which is mudaf. Remember, first word of idafa is mudaf. That's why it's very easy for me to say mudaf never will take tanween. Or you can think about first word for now. So the first word will never ever take tanween. We had kitabun. The only thing we do is remove the tanween and we say kitabu. Now remember, it is what we're saying is the same term that last time we said. Remove tanween. Did I say change the haraka? No, I did not say change the haraka. All I said, remove the tanween. That means regardless what haraka you had, it could have been kitaban. I don't know. Maybe it was kitaban. Or it could have been kitabin. I don't know, and I don't care. The here only thing I'm saying that if it was double of any haraka, just remove one of them. Your job is done for the first part. Okay, you remove one of them. And the second word, just put a kasra. We already learned about kasra in the last chapter. The second word, we put a kasra. So this is your basic structure that we can start off with. Okay, so this is the basic thing that you have to know. The first word will never ever take a tanween. And the second word will always be in kasra or in the state of kasra. We'll understand what we mean by state, but for now, just think about it will take a kasra. So we say kitabullahi. Now, if we go back here, even though it says bint, I wrote bait, we can work on it. Not a problem. We say baitu hamidin. So now we know what to do. We come back here. We say kitab Muhammad. Okay, that's fine, but we can do better. We say kitabu Muhammadin. First one, no tanween. Second one is kasra. But then you might be confused because we're saying, I mentioned to you that we always say the, especially in this construction here, we say the book of Muhammad. So shouldn't it be alif lam here? Al kitabu Muhammadin. Here's your second or the third rule. The first word will never take a alif lam. First word, which is mudaf, will never take what? Alif lam. Never takes alif lam. So remember these rules. There's a lot of things, guys, a lot of things, but you have to review them. So let's see what the author is saying. It says kitabun. Interesting the way he's explaining. He's explaining by examples. He'll give you examples and he will say what is it good or bad and why it's good and why it's bad. So he said kitabun Muhammadin. So he said it's no good. Why? It should be kitabu Muhammadin. Why? نحذف التنوين عند الإضافة. نحذف, we remove tanween. See, the word is remove, not to change the haraka. Because initially it was kitabun, but inda, that means when we add at the idafa, we remove the tanween. So make sure you look into this example and understand. Then he says, okay, you want to remove tanween? Okay, I could do that. Al-kitabu Muhammadin. Okay, so now I learned that when I write alif lam, I don't have to put tanween. So that makes sense. He's saying, no, it's not good. Why? It should be again, kitabu Muhammadin. Nahdhifu al inda idafa. So remember, we have to do these two things. We have to remove tanween and we have to remove what? We have to remove alif lam. These are the two primary rules of the first word, which is al-mudaf. But what's going on here? Kitabu, okay, you said no alif lam. I did not put alif lam. That's good. And you said no tanwin. I did not do any tanwin. So looks like good. You said kitabu Muhammadun. But now we have a problem with this word. The first word is checked out. This is fine. We have a problem with the second word. What's the problem? It should be in the kasra. It says al-mudaf ilayhi. See, these terms we'll be using a lot. Al-mudaf ilayhi. Can think about the second word of the idafa. Majrur. Here comes the tough words. Okay, bil kasra. Just think about kasra for now. I still don't want to go too much in detail with jar, majrur, this type of words. Inshallah, I will have one very short dedicated session where we'll be talking about these states. Okay, and I'll give you handouts. But main thing right now, think about that the second word, mudaf ilayhi, it needs to be a kasra. So you don't say Muhammadun, you say Muhammadin. Makes sense. So these are the main primary three rules you have to know. First word, no tanween, no alif lam. Second word, kasra, you have idafa. Very simple. Now he gives you a lot of examples. He's giving you additional examples for the mudaf. Wa al mudaf ilayhi. So he's going to give you additional examples for the idafa basically. It says, Khalu Hamidin Faqir. Okay, so now these are a little bit complex. So here we just made the construction. It's not a complete sentence. If you say Kitabu Muhammadin, okay, good. What about Kitabu Muhammadin? What about the book of Muhammad? You're not making a complete sentence. You need to say something about this sentence. It's almost like saying Al Kitab. Okay, you say Al Kitab. Okay, so what is about Kitab? You can say Al Kitab Jamil. The book is beautiful, or Mufid, beneficial. So you have to say something. So here we are completing the sentence. Khalu Hamidin. So first of all, what is Khal? Anybody knows what Khal means? Khal is uncle, but from which side? Hmm? No. Is uncle from the father's side. Yes, Khal is uncle from the mother's side. Okay. So Khal Hamid, Hamid's uncle or uncle of Hamid. Now we have to say something. What about him? Faqir, he's poor. Okay, you can say Ghani, he's rich. Doesn't matter. You have to complete the sentence. Now, Kitabu man hada. Now you say Kitabu man, the book of who is this? Book of who is this? So this is a little bit interesting construction. Just get used to it for now because I need to explain a few other things. Now, then it says Masmur Rajul. So ma, we know already ma. We said ma hada, it means what? Then we have Ismur Rajul. So you can see that this is the idafa. Another technique that you need to know, you have to identify this possessive case, which is probably not super easy in the beginning. And I'll give you a very interesting technique that you can use. But here, as you can see, this is idafa because the first one doesn't have alif lam and it doesn't have what? Tanween. And the second word, it has what? It has a kasra. Remember, we did not say anything about second word other than that it needs to be in the kasra. That's the only thing we said, right? Keep that in mind. So if you think about this, one way to identify, at least by looking at something, whether it's idafa or not, positive or not, if the first word looks something like indefinite. Remember last lesson, we talked about definite or indefinite. If it looks like indefinite and the second word looks like definite, then it is your very good chance, like I would say more than 90% chance that it would be your possessive construction. If you recall, last time we said if the first word is definite and the second word is definite, what did we say? What is the default situation about this type of arrangement? Hmm? Anybody remember? Sentence. Now, so it would be a sentence. So for example, you say al-waladu al-waladu صغير صغير. So al-wala, the first one is definite, second one is indefinite. Make sense? But here it looks like it's the other way around, right? It looks like the first word looks like indefinite and the second word looks like definite. So when you have this type of construction, it's highly chance that this would be idafa. It would be a construction. Now, if you go back here, for example, Kitabu Muhammad, does our condition meets? The first one looks like indefinite. Okay, fine, that's true. There's no alif lam. So what about Muhammad? Is this definite? Hmm? Remember, last lesson we talked about the proper names. Anybody's name is definite. Yes, it is definite. So as soon as you see something like that, you will, for example, you look at Ibn Khalid. Hmm. Ibn looks like indefinite, which means son, or it can be also boy. And Khalid is a name of a person, which is a definite. So maybe it is mudaf ilayhi. Then you have to check. You have to check all the rules that you learned. The first one doesn't take alif lam, and first one doesn't have tanween. So you have to check your rules. Same thing with ismul binti. Okay, so the name of the girl or daughter. Again, it has alif lam, so we know that alif lam is definite. If we say ism hada, what about this one? So what about hada here? Is definite or indefinite? Does it make sense? Does this one, follows our rule that this is indefinite is definite? What about hada? We talked about hada. Definite or indefinite? Hada is definitely definite. Naam, because it is pointing pronouns. All the pronouns are definite. So this is a technique that it might be useful because recognizing idafa is also part of the technique that you have to know. So another thing what you need to know about idafa is that when you have, although in idafa you have two different words, so let's go back to this one, our kitab Muhammad, kitabu Muhammadin. Kitab is one item, book, it's independent item. Muhammad is another separate item. Are we talking about two different items here? So what is the item we're talking about here? We're talking about one item, which is what? The book. So even though we have two different words, but the subject is one. So that's why we have to treat the whole thing as one word in a way. Okay? Makes sense? So that means we can say Kitabu Muhammad, then we can say, for example, Al Maktab, Al Maktabi. Because it's almost same thing about al-kitab, al-kitabu ala al-maktab, the thing that you learned before. It's almost like al-kitab ala al-maktab, so you can replace the whole thing as a one word because end of the day it is the book that we're referring to. We're just making a positive case, so keep that also in your mind, because if you know this one, then you will see just like sentence structure that we had before. Okay, al-waladu fil ghurfa. Okay, al-waladu fil ghurfa. So we say the boy is in the room, but now we can change this one and say waladu Khalid. So this walad, the al-walad, the boy that we meant, he is the son of Khalid, is the same person, one in the same. So it is one item, one independent entity, not two things. Okay, so keep that in mind. I will probably explain what do I mean by when I said that remove the tanween, don't change the haraka. So you might be thinking, shouldn't it be dhamma all the time? For example, all of these things we have a dhamma. You might get very comfortable thinking the first one is always dhamma and the second one is always kasra, because that's all we've been getting. Kitabu Muhammadin, okay, bintu Hamidin, Kitabullahi, all of these cases, ismu binti, all of these cases, the first word seems like a dhamma. So it's not the case. Okay, this is not the case. So we'll explain, inshallah. So the main focus in this chapter was what? Idafa. But then in almost every chapter, he will introduce another side topic, something that you also have to pay attention. So in this chapter, we have munada. It's one of the complex subject. But of course, in this stage, he's not going to explain everything. He's just going to give you a little bit of this concept. So what is munada? He says al munada huwa bi ma'na an taqula li sadiqika ta'ala. Again, very loose terms. He's trying to make it very easy for the new students. He's saying the munada, it is in the meaning that you are antaqula, that you tell li sadiqika, to your friends, ta'ala. Ta'ala means to come, to come. So if you want to call somebody, you say ta'ala, ta'ala ya walad, come ya, oh my son. So this is a very common word, ta'ala. So he's saying that munada means that you're calling someone like that. That's fine, that's good, but it doesn't have to be calling to come. It could be calling for an attention as well. So it's just calling someone's name in a way. Okay, munada is just calling someone out, calling uh, someone out. In English, we call Muhammad, come here. So this is you're calling Muhammad. You understand? So that's the issue. So how do we call someone? The way we call someone in Arabic is by using yeah. There are other words, but this is the by and large, like 99% times we use this word. Yeah. So we say Ya Muhammad. In English, we say Muhammad, come here. But in Arabic, we'll say Ya Muhammad, ta'ala. So we'll use the Ya Muhammad. You understand? So this concept of ya, nothing complicated here. There's one important rule you have to know, but by and large, I'm pretty sure you hear the word ya a lot. Now, can we translate this ya? That's another question. For example, if you say Ya Muhammad, do we translate, how do we translate? Do we just say Muhammad, Muhammad, just like that? Yeah, it's fine. But in Old English, some people might translate O. How do you do so? O or O, just like that. But honestly, in Arabic, we use the word ya so much. If you keep on translating this one, you're going to sound very strange very quickly. Maybe in the beginning you can start, but then every time you do this, you're going to sound strange. So in Old English, maybe you could have done that, but in modern English, we don't actually use any of these tools. We just call Muhammad. But it is something good to know. So now, looks like there's a mistake here. Okay, so because all this time we had Muhammadun, we just learned Muhammadun, Khalidun, and if it's only feminine name, we don't have tanwin. Amina tu. We just learned that, right? Masculine name we take tanwin, feminine name we don't take tanwin. So book finally made a mistake, right? Should have been tanwin. There's no tanwin. No, the rule of this is one of the rule. I told you monada is complex. One of the rule is that when you have ya and then you have a singular noun, and even here I'm using a loose term, singular noun, then that noun will not take tanween. It will always be a dhamma, one dhamma, always one dhamma. No fatha, no kasra, nothing, one dhamma. Make sense? So for example, what we have here, Ya Muhammadu. You don't say Ya Muhammadun. Now you want to call a boy, okay? A boy. The boy is a waladun. Naam. Now you want to call him. You say Ya waladu. Ya waladu. You have to remove the tanwin, and also it will always be into a dhamma. Okay, we're not going too much into grammar details here. And then inshallah, I think the book will explain more rules. So I'm not going to introduce anything else other than what the book is teaching here. Here it says, Ya Ustad. What is Ustad? Ustad could be teacher, professor, doesn't matter. Okay. So what happens? No tanween. Without that, you say Ustadun. Without ya, we say Ustadun. You say Ya Waladu, the example that I give you. So this is not super complex rules, but something to keep in your mind. So you don't say, yeah, shaykhun. So this is one thing that I like about this explanation of this book is that it clears up the grammar rules by giving examples, by showing you the wrong thing. A lot of times the book just gives you the right thing. It will tell you explanation and then he will tell you how to do that. But it never shows you the wrong thing. So he's telling you that don't do that. That's a wrong. So where is the wrong? Now you know the wrong. Wrong is ya shaykhun. It should be ya shaykhu. And he says nahdhifu. We remove at-tanween عند النداء عند النداء. So we remove tanween when at calling. Nida is calling. This word is also in the Quran. So then we have Kitabu Man Hada. Kitabu man hada, book of who is this? So now let me explain this thing. The man here, so first of all, where is the mudaf mudaf ilayhi? If we say kitabu man hada, where do you think the idafa construction is? Mudaf mudaf ilayhi is. What I mentioned that the first word looks like indefinite, well, it certainly does. And the second one looks like definite, it's not working because man, we don't understand. Is it man indefinite or definite? We don't know, right? So you might be confused that this is idafa construction or not. But what is your clue to tell you that this is in fact a idafa construction? Hmm? The way that it gives you a clue that this is a off construction is by not having a tanween. Why? I'll give you a golden rule. Remember this rule. A word that takes tanween, because we mentioned to you some word doesn't take tanween, and inshallah we'll see a more. A word that takes tanween, like kitabun, kitabun. The ways we remove the tanween, primary two ways, by adding alif lam. Another one is idafa, mudaf, the first word, al mudaf. This is the only two ways we can remove tanween. So you're clearly seeing there's no alif lam. So why don't I have a tanween? The only option that you have that you are about to say off. That's what I meant last time, that when you say one tanween, you are beginning to say off. As soon as you say kitabu, he's waiting. Book of, okay, continue. So anytime you have the word that should be in tanween, you don't have a tanween, it is a clue that you have an off construction. Okay, the whole concept into elf. So you say book off. So now what? Now if you just simply translate, as soon as you know that one tanween without, keep on saying tanween, without tanween it means off, then you can easily just translate. What is man? Huh? We just learned man. Man is who? And hada is this. So now you know that kitabu man means book of who. Book of. We have of here. Now you say who. Book of who is this. So this is a little bit complex structure, but inshallah you will get used to it. Don't worry too much about this thing. You will get used to it. So he's saying that when you say kitabu man, because we learned the man we use for intellect, aqil, and ma we use for ghair aqil, non-intellect. So he's saying su'alun anil aqil. So when you say kitabu man hada, we're asking about who, meaning who's the person that this book belongs to. So he said, hada kitabu Muhammadin. So now you know why are we saying man is definite here, because look, this man is replacing what? A definite noun. Again, don't worry too much about this thing. But let me clarify something. Can somebody just translate this one for me? Just qalamu Khalidin for me quickly. Now, a pen of Khalid. So, and we said Khalid is definite. Are we saying that this one always has to be definite? Is that what we're saying? No, that's not what we're saying. So be careful of this. Majority of the time, the second word will be a definite. Why? Think about from English perspective. If you say a pen of a boy, it's very abstract, very vague. It doesn't give us much information. A boy, a pen, we don't know anything about anything. So it's too indefinite. So we don't usually use this type of possessive construction, even in English. Yes, we can construct it, but by and large, we don't use it. So we're not saying it, but you will see a lot of time we will have this one as indefinite as well. So this word can be definite or indefinite, but most of the time it will be definite. Okay, so just keep that in your mind. Any question here? So here, obviously, what do you need to do? You need to, go back to the book and do a lot of exercises. Read everything. Make sure you know all the questions and the answers, all the words, translations, everything. So we have ad-dars al-khamis. Starts off saying Akitabu Muhammadin. So this Hamzatul Istifham, we learned it last time. So we have Kitabu Muhammadin. You have to make your eyes sharp to recognize sentence, recognize a positive case, and from chapter 6 and 7, you have to recognize adjectives as well. Okay? So you have to recognize which one is idafa. And you see the rules. The first one, no alif lam. no tanween. Second one is kasra. Please go through them. I'm not going to spend too much time. Again, the words you have to know. Daftar. Yeah, what is daftar? Daftar is notebook. These are the something you have to know from the book. And as you can see, we talked about Aliyun. The name is Aliyun. Aliyun with the tanween. But when you say ya, we remove the tanween. Naam. Okay, so now I do have to explain something that I thought I was going to explain last page. I forgot. Look about this one. What is this one? Is it Idafa construction? Yes or no? Yes. How do you know? There's no alif lam. There's no tanween. Okay, and second one has a kasra. But hold on a second. What happened to my dhamma here? Why this is a kasra? All this time I've seen a dhamma, dhamma, dhamma. Why is not a dhamma? That's what I meant. The haraka of this word would be based on the grammar. So what did we learn in the last lesson? We learned that if you have preposition, what happens? If you have preposition, what happens? Excellent. What happens? The next word will be into a kasra. Okay, next word will be into kasra. And that's what we have. So you have ala maktab. So it should have been, if you remove the idafa, so it should be what? It should be ala maktabin. Maktabin. We just learned it. Very simple now. We just learned that when you have preposition, instead of it should be maktabun, you change from maktabun into maktabin. Now we're not just talking about a desk, we're talking about the desk of Muhammad. Okay, so we can do that. It's not a problem. We just add Muhammad. Muhammadin. Are we done? No, not quite. We have to remove the tanween. But what about if it was ila? Let's say we say ilal bait. Okay, I'm telling you, go to the house. Ilal baiti. Makes sense. We just learned this. But then you ask me, which house? Then I say, go to Khalid's house. So you say, oh, you mean the house of Khalid? So what do you do now? Do you say Khalid right here? Khalidin. Mudaf ilahi kasra. Is it good? Are we done? Hmm? No, we have to remove alif lam. You guys are catching on. But what aren't we doing? We are not changing the haraka. We're not changing the haraka. This haraka has a reason. So this haraka is coming because of ila, so we cannot change it. But remember the rule, we never said to change the haraka to begin with. The first one we said, we just remove the tanween, for example, in this case. And the second word is always in the kasra. Make sense? So a lot of complex things here, but you have to master them. So go through them here. As I mentioned to you, this main text, I'm not going to spend so much time. And this is a very good exercise. This will really seal the deal with your practice with idafa. It gives you two words. You make it into idafa. It says, for example, you say ghurfatun here and aliyun. So you want to say the Ali's room. Then you change into room of Ali. Then you say ghurfatu aliyin. So it requires practice. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be name, it can be anything with alif lam as well. And this is also good exercise. You have to put your haraka. This will also a very good exercise. Maybe we can read this one. We say what? Baitul mudarrisi ba'idun wa baitu tajiri qaribun. So what is ba'id? Ba'id is far and qarib is near. So we have a little bit long sentence, but if you break them down, it's very simple. Okay, just we're adding with the wow and we're just making it into a long sentence. Okay, so not so much complicated, but you still have to do. So here it looks like long, but we have, because we are writing sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so it's getting longer. So don't be scared. Read everything, and if you don't know, look into the dictionary. And if you have still more questions, please bring them to the lab session. And this is another good one. So what would you put here if you want to make a construction? So you look into the whole thing and see what will make sense. What is mughlaq? We had this word before. Closed. So you have al-bayt, the house. So what of the house is closed? Hmm? Bab, ahsant. Say babul bayti mughlaqun. This might be a little bit complicated because you have to think about words, what's in your mind. So this would be the challenge ones. Do them. And this is the exercise with the ya, which is very simple for now. Trust me, your ruling will come more in the future, but this is the easier ruling. And what they're trying to say here, I think they're probably talking about Hamzatul Wasl. I'm not sure because both of them are Hamzatul Wasl here, Ism and Ibn. Not sure. But very simple, nothing complicated here. So remember the kasra, any word, what we said in the beginning, that the default is what? Default is Dhamma. There are only two ways we put Dhamma into a kasra. One of them when you have a preposition, and second one when it is the second word of Idafa. These are the only two ways we put a kasra. There are no other grammar rules that we have where we put a kasra. Okay, unless adjective will follow. This is a different way. But there are many reasons to put a fatha and dhamma. We'll learn them later. But the reasons to put a kasra is the two that we already learned. After prepositions and the second word of idafa, the mudaf ilayhi. Okay, so we have both of them here. Okay, so for example, we have Ibnu Khalidin. Should have been Khalidun, but it is Khalidin. This is one way. And second way is after preposition, fil madrasati. Fil madrasati. So here at the end, the original author, Dr. Abdurrahim, he explains the grammar. Sayyaratu Sayyaratul Mudarrisi. Sayyaratul Mudarrisi, the car of the Mudarris or the teacher. The first word is mudaf, the second word is mudaf ilayhi. If you see grammar terms that is mentioned in your original text, guys, no exception. You have to memorize them. This author, this author, he does not want to burden you by giving you a lot of grammar words in the beginning. If you read other books, the grammar books, in the beginning, marfu, majrur, mansub, this and that, jar, they will give you tons of grammar words. But here I mentioned to you that these two words, we don't have a very alternate, but we have to refer them a lot. So please do memorize them. And I would like you to memorize this word, which is idafa. This whole thing is called idafa. So the idafa has two parts, mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. Make sense?